Hello, everybody. Welcome to our talk about our talk with YOUnique. You are unique. About a specific topic, which is the angles, the left angle, the right angle, and the juxtaposition. During our research to the frequencies of the different elements within a chart, purpose paper, whatever, we came across this part, and there's hardly anything known about it or talked about, and it has a huge impact on how they show up in your life. And the strategy is, well, you can change it with strategy. And we have verified that ourselves a bit, so that's what we choose this timing to talk about it. So, if I would have to put it in a nutshell, the differences between those is when you have a right angle, the strategy would be, or actually the way how your frequencies flow is, when you help yourself, you help others. When you have a left angle, it is when you help others, you help yourself. And when you have a juxtaposition, then you can do both. This sounds so easy, and actually it's not, because of the way we were raised, at least in Europe, the way I was raised, especially women in our place, is that you need to be assisting others, you need to check in with others, you need to help others, you need to be there. And this goes actually, when you have a right angle, it's like goes straight against everything. Because for the right angle, it seems like the most straightforward strategy. When you focus on what you're doing and what you want and what you feel, then automatically you help others, is the opposite of actually what we were raised to do. And the difference is huge, because you guys with the right angle, it's like sometimes I have a little bit of difficulty translating in another language than my native one, and getting my thoughts in a clarifying strain of words. Basically, all you need to do is just focus on what you feel, what you want, what you do, what you want to achieve. And if somebody else or whatever asks you something, or you felt obliged to do something, then please just let them know what your primary feeling was, or what you want to do. Because the best way I can explain it, because then you will help others. And you probably tend to not do that because you are supposed to be there for others. A little example, what I mean by this is when you are with a bunch of people and you're having a gathering at a restaurant with a number of friends, and at a certain point, one says, hey, let's go to the beach. And then normally, or most of the time, most of the people would say, hey, yeah, nice, let's go to the beach. But if a right angle then would have the feeling, I'd rather not go to the beach, there's a beautiful lake in the forest, I would rather go there. Most of the time we're kind of used of letting that personal thought go and go with the rest. I would really advise you to at least communicate it, because if you would then say, hey guys, beach is lovely, but I know a beautiful spot with a little lake in the woods, then probably a lot of others would say, hey, yeah, I like that idea way better. And then you go to the woods and the lake. Because you guys, you make stuff happen, the right angles. You know, you just do. That's what happens. So, and actually, I think a really beautiful example from real life is one that Helen had. She has a right angle, and it was an example concerning her. Well, Helen, please tell us, because it was so inspiring.
Okay, thank you, Monique. Yeah, so it's seemingly innocuous, only I suppose knowing this information now, I put a lot more significance on it. It makes a lot more sense to me. So the background was I have two wonderful sisters, and they're very close in age and very close to each other. So over the years, obviously they'll have arguments every now and then, and we all do. That's absolutely normal. But one time they had a particular argument that one of my sisters was quite upset about, and I was talking to her on the phone one evening, and I could hear that she was particularly upset. And I said, "Oh, I'll call in to you tomorrow after work," because I thought that was the right thing to do. She needed a bit of extra support. And when it came to after work the following day, I was exhausted. I was drained. I really just needed to go home, and I knew I needed to go home. But I felt obligated. I had said that I would call. It was a situation I put myself in. I was totally, the only one involved in creating that scenario. But I still felt obliged to go. So, because I didn't want to let her down. So I called to her, and within about 15 or 20 minutes, I could hear my own voice. I could hear that I was getting short and I was getting cranky, I suppose. And I kind of jumped in and said, "Gee, I'm really, really sorry." I said, I actually should have gone home today. I'm exhausted, tired, and don't take any of this personally. This is just me being tired. And she said, "Oh my goodness, you shouldn't have come at all." She said, "You poor thing, you should absolutely have gone straight home, And then she said, "Actually, I've a bit of a migraine coming on. I probably should be in bed myself." And it was a real realization that had I been true to myself and my own instincts I'm a right angle, by the way, full disclosure there. had I listened to myself and my own body telling me what I needed, I would actually have been doing right by my sister as well. Because she actually, when it came to that point in time, she didn't need me there at that time. What she needed was rest at that particular point in time. But I came because I had said the previous day I would, but it wasn't good for either of us. And that's then when I realized, oh, there really is something in this right angle thing. And we don't have to necessarily know or understand the outcome or what will pan out from us being true to ourselves. But to trust that it is the right thing for everyone all around, not just yourself.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It was so enlightening in how this frequency works, how to get in the flow with yourself and others, and helping others by focusing on what you feel or what you want to do, what you need, and or at least communicate it. Like her sister said, you should have called. So it sounds so easygoing and straightforward, and actually due, of course, to our us being raised in another way, it might be quite a challenge to change that habit of, because we get in a habit the way we were raised, and so change that habit. But I would, for sure, with people with the right energy, with the right angle frequencies, do some experiments with this one. It's kind of easygoing. So, sorry. Digging in a bit deeper with the natural flow of the left angle. This sounds, so the left angle is when you help others, you help yourself. That would be the strategy. This is how it works, how it flows. This sounds pretty familiar to most of you, as most of us are raised that way. Like, think about others, being an assistant or whatever. But it goes against everything for the usual way, because you really have a problem when somebody asks you, hey, how do you feel? What do you want? What's your future? What is your future plans? What do you really love doing? Love doing might be doable, but what is your aim? Or they go totally blank, because actually they have no clue. I am a left angle. When you asked me that a couple of years ago, it was horrible. I am actually not capable even of answering that question. So it goes actually against every form of usual way of coaching, for instance, or self-awareness or self-development. And I've tried loads of them. And for sure, when I was, when I had like the one-on-one coaching, it was horrible for me because I didn't have an answer, and loads of coaches called me uncoachable. And I had no clue why. Because we can't get to that. Because the way you are wired, or the way people with a left angle are wired, is that when you help others, you help yourself. So it's the opposite of the right angle. And that means that, and somehow people with a left angle almost feel kind of a need or obligated to actually help others. There's a need or a longing or an eagerness, kind of, to help others, to be focused on others. And when people with a left angle do that, they listen to others, of course, what they need. They observe. Do they walk their talk? Whatever you do, because there are very many varieties in left angle, people with a left angle. So everybody has his own specific way, as we are all different. But once you do that, and then you go and reflect when you're on your own. And most of the time, so then you relate stuff to yourself. And when you on your own and then realize, hey, that's something that I would do, or what I would like, or that's a beautiful way, or whatever mesmerizing takes place in reflection when you're on your own after helping somebody else, will give you more insights in about what are your priorities and what are you about. That's so for people with a left angle, the transpersonal changes into interpersonal. and with this strategy. And for the ones with the right angle, the interpersonal changes into transpersonal or goes towards transpersonal. And yeah, basically that's what it is to be a left angle. Might still be even so. When you want to be coached, be sure that you know what you do. I know for myself, I did a lot of, I've even had my coaching degree. Because actually left angles would be great coaches, could be great coaches. But because somehow by coaching, they get to learn themselves. But that's just a thing. For me, when I wanted to be coached, the way it works the best for left angles, if you're in a group, so like a stage and a speaker and a coach with some kind of program, which are lots of people, and there's interaction, because then of course they can observe, and then they can get stuff, let stuff sink in, and then they get to know themselves a bit better. They get a better perspective on what they want, what resonates and what doesn't. Any questions, by the way, about that right and left angle? Mariska?
Well, I don't know. It's not really a question. Maybe it is sort of, but could you say like, because I am a right angle, I have a right angle energy, and my boyfriend has a left angle energy. What I notice is that I learn through doing things myself and choosing myself. But for him, it shows up more that he observes everything around him and he learns about himself through observing others, how they do things and whatever. And there's a big difference I notice in uh, that energy, and it also bumps into each other because I tend to say, oh, well, by doing it yourself, you get to know, which is, of course, normal for me. And then he's like, he really looks like flabbergasted, like, huh? What? What do you want me to do? And he just cannot get his head around it somehow. It doesn't work for him that way, which I would say, listening to you right now, is what is supposed to happen because he is not able to choose the actions and the things based on choosing himself that way. Is that how you mean
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. There's they are kind of evolving. Left angles are more like evolving and learning during their life. They really actually need to find out. It's not something which is pretty obvious for them. On the other hand, what the beauty is between the right and the left angle, as the left angle tend to be more abstract thinking, and the right angle people tend to be more practical, being in the now, doing this thing, focusing on what they want. And the left angles are more like observative. The left angle picks up on a lot of stuff, of course. And depending on what kind of stuff in what ways depends on other stuff within a purpose paper or chart. But as left angles pick up on a lot of stuff and they want to help and assist, they come up with options towards the right angles. And that is not always received in a beautiful way, because those options get them out of their focus. So once you know that they have like the best interest in you, or I don't know the English expression, They want the best, and they just know, they just come up with more options, but that can be destructive, or destructive for the process the right one is in. And the beauty here is that what the left angle tends to do, as they observe so much, they connect a lot with others, they pick up on other stuff, and once they see what the right angle is busy with, they tend to talk about that with others. So actually they get others, they get more people interested in what the right angle person with their focused process is working on. So they get, so you know, you help each other. So, but it goes in different ways. It has a different strategy on how it works because you're wired in a different way. So, yes, Mariska?
So do you have a tip on how to, when I get confronted with all those ideas, it's true. It's very distracting for me. It's I don't know what to do with it. I get confused, sometimes for days. So what would you say energy wise, when that happens? Because I can see that it's his process. So how can I be? I think that's the best way to put it, so that I can receive the information but not get bogged down by it and get completely distracted by it. What could be its strategy? I'm struggling with that one.
Yeah, well, of course, that depends on way more stuff than just right or left angle, because there's so much in a chart or purpose paper to have like the spot on strategy. But in general, I would say, hey, oh, nice idea. I'll write it down. So you hear. And if there's something you need kind of assistance with, you can always ask, hey, what about that? So, and then it goes like that way, the energy flows. So that would be a nice one to experiment with, whether that would work for you, as of course everybody is very unique. There might be some improving stuff that only you can find out in this specific relationship.
Good, thank you.
Okay. So digging deeper in the natural flow of the juxtaposition. Well, people who have a juxtaposition, they are rare. And they probably, from my point of view, of course, can experience quite some challenges, as they can do both. So when is one and when is the other, as your way is very individual. There's actually only one way to find out, and that is by trying to figure it out for yourself how it works, because there's not a general strategy, as you can do one and you can do the other. Because also there's a very close connection to your purpose, or to your purpose, and there's a huge variety in purposes for people who have the juxtaposition, and those varieties are can be also quite extreme. So it's very hard to tell something in general about just the juxtaposition and the effects that it has on your life, might have on your life. It's still research, guys. So there is one extremely important effect for, as far as I know, everybody who has a juxtaposition. The typical juxtaposition is people with that juxtaposition is that they are kind of fixed and flexible. They are very almost rigidly fixed on their own ideas, on their own home, on their job, on their lover. So very personal stuff. They are very fixed about those, which is very healthy for them, by the way. And they're super, super duper flexible with everybody else. They can accept almost everything from everybody, unless maybe you go and live with them, then it changes, probably a bit. So they are super flexible. For them, that's why they are the beautiful bridge between the right angles and the left angles, because they are so flexible. They harmonize everything. So besides that, they are able to do both sides. They can also work with both sides and be a bridge between those both, the right angles and the left angles, and their frequency. So it's just like fairy tale, fairy dust between those two different angles. But for you, what the very important thing is here, that is, for as far as I know, goes for everybody with who have a juxtaposition. As you are so very fixed and firm on personal things, and so very flexible of others, it's very important for you, as you rely on the things that you're fixed on, like your job, your house, and your lover. It's extremely important for you to keep them in place. So despite what everybody else says, or whatever conditioning you're in, or you name it, please take care and be aware that you already have another house before you break the lease of your current one. That you already have another job before you resign on your current one. That you already have another lover when you decide to split with your current one. Please do that, because once you have, as you rely on those pillars so heavily, they're so important for you to be the miracle worker, basically, that you are. It will break you, and it will take you a long time probably to get back on track. It will really disturb your balance, and so that's one that I would really say that you need to take into account. But for the others, you kind of are miracle workers, because you bridge everything so beautiful, and naturally it will almost be an autopilot. So you're probably not even aware that you're doing it. Chris?
Yeah, I have a question for you, because I know someone who has the tools of the juxtaposition, and she currently lost her job, but not because her job, well, it was they stopped. So, and she could not find anything before. So she's without her job now. How can I support her? How can I support her in this? Because I can see that she is very that she's missing some important pillar, important part of her life, and she's kind of lost. But how could I help to make it easier for her?
Mm-hmm. Due to what we have discovered so far, you having a right angle, do what you want to do. Tell her what you think or what you feel, what you experience, what you do.
Oh, okay.
And more specific things are, yeah, more related to other parts of the purpose paper.
Okay, thank you.
From the perspective of the right-left angle and juxta, it would be, well, at least you can give it a try, you know. Any other questions? Yes, Mariska.
So when someone has that juxtaposition and they lose someone because the person, the partner, for example, dies, you're not having someone else waiting for
No.
for those things to happen. So, and I have a experience with someone that had that situation happen to her, and she was still is recovering, and it's almost 8 years now.
Yeah.
And I noticed that she has a lot of trouble or challenges to get back on track in her life. And um, when that happens, like for example, like what Chris says, what I'm saying with someone with a has a juxtaposition, what could they do for themselves to make that process easier? Is it just they need to go through all of that and find their way back again? Because I can imagine that it's very, or it can be a very hopeless feeling, and if you cannot pinpoint why this is happening to you, and you get a lot of shit from outside of you, because everybody is like, come on, it's time to move on, get over it, you need to step forward or move forward. So what would you say for people? And I think the energy will be the same for losing your job unexpectedly, losing your partner unexpectedly, everything that's unexpectedly. What could they experiment with, try out to see if they can change it? How?
Mm-hmm. Well, as I was telling, there's such a huge variety in purposes, and it's for them very strongly related to the purpose. I can't give you a fits all juxtapositions answer to this. So as you have a right angle, I would go with the strategy of your right angle. Or maybe,
But I meant it more for people that are listening.
Yeah,
that are maybe in that
so
situation.
that would be for you when you help, just focus on what you were experiencing and share that at least with her, your feelings, your experience, share that with her. And of course then if they would really have a for her, normally I would say to get a purpose paper reading, because then you get more in-depth specific information for what's personally for her the best choice to do. But for sure, when this happens to somebody who has a juxtaposition, it will take them years to get back in balance. That's quite normal. They shouldn't be So if you know somebody, like you both know somebody who had unexpectedly that something that happened to them, or yeah, well, for them basically, but you know, that still is quite a hardship. Just accept it, be there for them, support them, let them grieve, let them whatever is that are going through, and say to them that they don't need to get back in track ASAP, because it ain't possible for them. So I think by doing that, you would already be a huge support, as the major amount of people will probably say, yeah, get back on track, just do this, just do that. But you know, they can do that all, but it won't work for them because they're not wired at all. Yeah.
Yeah, so focus for them to accept that they are where they are right there.
Yeah.
And be gentle with themselves. That's actually that's what I'm hearing could be generalized, like, okay, be gentle. It's what you're going through. It's okay. You know, don't beat yourself up.
It's just another phase. It is an unhappy phase. It's an uncomfortable phase, but I'll be there.
Yeah, and acknowledgement is already a lot. If you acknowledge that they are going through a very tough period, then they kind of feel supported already, I think. Yeah, is that right, Monique?
Yes. Yes, that's the best you can do. And then any questions on the natural flow of the right angle, people with a right angle, because this one, of course, of the juxta is very special. It's totally different. But basically what we're talking about here is because the majority of the people, there's only like three, let me take my notes. Only 2.4% of humankind has a juxtaposition. So that's not that many people. And yeah, they're special. So any questions about the difference when you help yourself as having a right angle, you help others, which is the opposite of what we've been taught, most of us. Or when you have the left angle, when you help others, you help yourself, which is beautiful, what we've been taught in Europe, but has a counter that is quite hard if you want to achieve something or want to be something, or who do you, whatever. So there's tricks on both sides, tricky stuff on both. Any questions about those? Alan?
I was just wondering, Monique, you mentioned the juxta is about 2.4% of the population, and that raises a question straight away for me in relation to the left angle and the right angle. Are they roughly evenly split, the remaining 97.6%?
Yes.
Roughly evenly split.
I'll check right now for you.
Thank you. And then, of course, that moves me on to think of balance in the universe in general, and the points you were making about juxta being a great bridge and harmonizer between the left and right. That I would imagine that, some percentages can be very skewed in different geographical areas, but I would imagine in this case that probably wouldn't be, that if the balance is 30% right and 50 whatever percent left,
Mm-hmm.
and so on. And then of course that leads me to think, well, does it change over time? Does whatever going on in the world require? But yeah, that's for further on research, maybe. But
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understand correctly what you are looking for on your later question, but
yeah.
to answer your first one, as 2.3% has a juxtaposition, 33.2% are left angles. So 64.5% are right angles.
Okay, so that explains, for me, that's a great example of why, in my experience anyway, we see so much burnout and disillusionment and whatnot amongst people, especially, let's say, maybe people over 40 or so, and even where people to the outside world seem to be ticking the boxes of what should make one happy, for example. And I definitely come across it in my work where I come across people who are ticking all the boxes as far as what the outside world tells them they should be happy with, but aren't actually content and fulfilled in themselves. And if 64% of our population are right-angled and are conditioned through societal norms, as you say, at least in Europe anyway, the conditioned through societal norms to serve others, even at, it's not even in Ireland anyway, it's not even at their cost, it's even more appreciated and even more honoured if somebody has self-sacrificed in order to help somebody else. If they do it with ease, that's not really considered, noteworthy.
Yeah.
You're a really good person if you've totally sacrificed yourself for others around you. And of course, that's going to lead to burnout. But it's not only going to affect that 66% or 5 or 4, whatever we said it was, but if the right angles are, if I understand correctly, if part of our role is to be an example and to inspire others, the left angles and the juxtas, how to be, and if we're not living to that, then we're also having an impact
Yes,
on them.
because you're not helping others
Yes.
if you're not focusing on what you want first. So it's counterproductive, if I pronounce that right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So you would not only be, for example, your example of with your sister. Basically, you went and then over to her, not feeling all right, and then if you wouldn't have known and if you wouldn't have told what you were feeling, then you would have been there for her and you would be frustrated, and she would actually be, in hindsight, frustrated too, because she had to be in bed or bitter or angry or disappointed, whatever general energy fields they have. So basically, if you don't understand how it shows up in your life, we were raised with a very well idea, but for a lot of people, basically set up to lose. It might have been a left angle kind of person who thought of this rule. So it started out very nice because it worked for them, and then you obviously assume that as it works for me, based upon results, it will work for others too, because I've tested it, verified it, it works beautifully. But if that person happened to be a left angle, then now the whole of the world is working with the left angle strategy, and it's setting you up to lose. or at least lose energy. Mariska?
Yeah, and that goes really deep because we live in a society where, like, when you focus on yourself and choose to do something for yourself, you're either called selfish, egotistical, narcissistic is the new trend word these days. And I notice for myself, but that's the biggest struggle that I have. Like from young child, I remember doing things for me, but then I would be called out like, "Oh, you're so selfish. You're always doing your own thing, and you don't bother what we are wanting or what we are doing." So I adjusted to support the whole. Like, okay, I'm gonna be helpful for you and whatever. But in the process, I completely lost my own self. And I know that for me, having the 1-3 profile combined with it is probably a little bit even more challenging. Um, but it's I think when you look at 66% that it's supposed to be doing things for themselves, when I look around me, I can for sure say that that's not the case in real life. I think the 66% is in real life doing actually maybe 10% that are really choosing themselves, and the rest is all serving others because they tend to believe through whatever we were brought up with and called and what was told to us when we were young, that we completely working against our own energy the whole time. And that's I think that's mind blowing actually when you look at it from that perspective in energy. Then so much struggle that we see in the world around us and in friendships and whatever, it makes so much more sense now for me at least.
Yeah. And also at the moment, there's very much a trend that you do some inner search, or in what way or another, have coaching or do other stuff to raise your awareness about yourself and stuff like that. For a left angle, it's horrible. They can't. It takes them just a long year. Loads of years. Actually, probably their whole life. So yeah, those are things that it's not that. Yeah, there's still a lot to discover about this, how deep it goes, what kind of effects there are. We, within the research, of course, we came across this element when we started to explore it more in deep. And then only then we realized what a huge impact this single element has in your life, on how it shows up in your life. So basically, yeah, here we are sharing what we know, guys. Any questions? Because I think we have covered it all. Helen.
Yes, I think we have covered it all, Monique. If there are any last questions, do just let us know. So you can let us know now or email us later. So I think all that's left is to say thanks very much for your participation. So whether you're here live or whether you're listening to a recording later, we're delighted to have you here with us. And to let you know that the recording will be emailed out to those who registered, and it's also available on the YOUniqueResearch.com website on the news section, or it will be in the coming days, rather, on the news section of the website, YOUniqueResearch.com. So you can also access it there or share it with others from there as well, if you like. So until our next talk with YOUnique. Wish you all a unique individual experience. Enjoy experimenting. Take care.